Happy Friday. Welcome to Front Row Live. Now, tonight, first, let me fix my screen because that looks crazy. All right. So, tonight we are getting into a lot of things because this is one of those weeks where one post, one lyric, one clip can shift the whole conversation. So I'm Jill Monroe. If you aren't aware, I'm an entertainment journalist and radio host on KPLA Talk 1580. But tonight we are talking suspicion, cleanup spins, loyalty tests, and a whole lot of are you serious right now? So we've got 5 buckets that we cover, and we're talking who got grace, the internet picked sides. This week got complicated and who got dragged, and silence said everything. So we are starting with who got grace. We're going to talk about Ochocinco standing by Shannon Sharpe even after the lawsuit fallout and reported business losses. We're talking the internet picking sides. We are still talking about 50 Cent versus T.I. And the reason why, well, there's new music in the mix. 50, everybody had been saying 50 wasn't getting in the booth. Well, 50 got in the booth. And we'll take a look at his results and talk about it. The week got complicated. There's some drama going on with Instagram and things. And Mathew Knowles, he straight backtracked after he threw a little shade at Miss Tina Knowles. We're going to get into that. And who got dragged? Tyra Banks still getting dragged by Janice Dickerson. And now we're going to throw Bill Cosby in the mix. We'll talk about it. Plus a couple of other things. And lastly, closing out, I want to talk about how Jay-Z became hip hop's boogeyman, because I feel like every time anything happens right now in hip hop, people are like, because Jay-Z did it, because Jay-Z had something to do with it. And I can't lie. I understand it. I get it to a small degree, but I still want to talk about it. Hey, Royal Jenkins, shout out to you. Thank you for checking in. All right. So let's get into the first topic tonight. Who got grace? All right. So Chad Ochocinco said that standing by Shannon Sharpe was an easy decision, right? He said that basically remaining as Shannon's nightcap co-host after Shannon's fallout from his assault settlement and all of those things, which we know was about 20 to 30 million that the young lady received, but it cost Shannon $100 million podcast deal. And, that was up for the deal. Chad says we all make mistakes in life. Here's the bottom line, though. Of course, Chad is going to say something like that because people gave him grace. He went through his own situation that cost him millions, cost him his wife, Evelyn Lozada, and he had to make his way back to the top, get money the legal way, because we know Chad is cheap, and he also owns a bunch of franchises and things like that. So he has money hidden in different places. Shout out to that. Hey, shout out to Urban Spinster. Thank you for joining. My favorite. I feel as though we are connected in a whole nother way, but that's a conversation for another day. So anyway, big ups to Chad, because it takes a lot to stand by loyalty. We know that Shannon has shown his immature side with a lot of things over the past year, but things have seemed to come together for them. They're still one of the top podcasts. The money's still coming in, just maybe not that money. He started a new life in Vegas. So, big ups to that. All right, let's get into the internet picking sides. I feel like this 50 Cent T.I. thing has taken on a whole other life. Now we know it's 50 versus the family because King and Demani have jumped into it because 50 dragged Tiny into it. And Dame Dash, he recently posted a video of Dame Dash talking mess about him. I'll get into that, but that has fans upset because then 50 brought Aaliyah up. we'll get into that. I'm kind of burnt out of 50 using women as collateral damage. Like, I respect 50's business acumen to the highest power, but I don't like the games that he plays with women. All right, so this is what dropped, right? 50 has finally put out music after King, Demani, T.I., I think, dropped 2 diss tracks. So 50 finally got in the booth and rapped, right? Because people were saying, you doing everything but rapping. Well, he dropped some music. It is reported, well, not reportedly, he said it. It's going to be the theme for the new Power series spinoff Origins. This is the show that is going to cover Tommy and Ghost is origins, with the young Canaan and how they came to be, right? So it's going to live on forever, no matter what, even though shout out to T.I. and the Over 40 set, because T.I. is rapping. He came back with another diss track after 50 dissed his. We'll play a little bit of that for you. But first, let me play the 50 song, because I know you want to hear it, right? It's not bad. It's typical 50, kind of, sounds like 90s rap, 90s hip hop for sure. Which, listen, that is what it is, but let's get into it. We're gonna play a little bit of it because I don't want this.
Bread to a lot, slap box to the Glock, or the stab wound to a shot. I know magic, black magic, blue magic, get the douche, bitch, get the ooze. Niggas still can't move me. I'm back for my dope boy grandma. Your daddy made your mama eat every box in Atlanta. Frick shit, peep shit.
Okay, we got to stop it right there. Did you hear what he said? He said, your daddy made your mama eat every box in Atlanta. Now, we know 50 has also threatened to put out a surviving T.I. and Tiny documentary. A couple of years back, they were sued by a former friend of theirs, claiming that they had drugged her, assaulted her. All of these type of conversations came up about T.I. and Tiny's lifestyle. So let me be clear, though. It is one thing. They have been very open, so to speak, about, that they like to bring a lady or two home on occasion, and maybe they were rolling when they did it, but all the participants were willing, right? And that case got thrown out. The woman actually had to pay them their lawyer fees back for that case, but there aren't any. Well, I can't remember if there was another case filed, but it didn't go to trial if it was. I mean, it seems like whatever activities they are into in their bedroom, they are doing it with willing and consenting adults. Now, 50 went there, right? Now, he hasn't learned yet about talking about Tiny. Demani, and Tiny is Demani's stepmom, by the way, just to clear that up and be clear about that. And King said, no, we're not playing that, right? So let me, and I should have had this queued up, but I didn't. Let me go ahead and find Demani and King's. Yeah. Oh gosh, that's not it. But listen, I think that really 50 needs to, at this juncture, call it a day with this. Like, you're in over your head. They're coming at you family style, and it doesn't look good for you. They are, I can't find it, guys. Sorry about that. But Royal Jenkins says T.I. finally got 50 back. 50 Cent back rapping. That is true. Get in the booth. I'm proud of that. Now, the results, they're cool. I mean, it's going to be the opening for his show. You got to keep that in mind. King, in his response back, he showed a video, and I really need to find this. Like, let me stop playing. I'm sorry. I should have had this pulled up, but I was like, maybe I'm not going to show that, but it's kind of key. King posted his response to it, right? And in it, here it is right here. He features a video of his dad, because his dad is obviously a hip hop artist, right? And in that video, it shows a young lady that is doing video lady things. And who might that lady be? Oh, I believe that is 50's baby's mom, Daphne Joy. Now, this might be a little bit hypocritical because I just said I don't like it when people use women to slam dunk men in a rap battle. But here we are, right? So let's listen to what King dropped and the imagery that he dropped to go along with it, because that is really the dialogue.
Let's get an old school drop top. You wanna give me top? Yeah, I'm whipping in this foreign. Feel like damn, it costs a lot. Niggas talk too much and run their mouth. I see why they got shot. Like that house you set on fire. Yeah, this shit you got ain't hot. You the type of nigga clocks and T. I'm tight and not some teeth. Why the fuck you have a son just not to be there? That ain't P. You was made from 50 cents because your mama give it cheap. See you smiling, holding dick. She can't say that Diddy a freak. But that nigga, he just wanted with black women, not with me. Raise my son to be a man. He cannot say the same as me. When a lamb chop put up to the hood, this is Shiesty P.
So he said a lot there in that little short clip. Like I said, I don't want to get demonetized, but he did say he want that 50 only has it for black women. He don't want it with me, right? I feel like that's a hot bar because, again, why did you even bring Tiny into it? Why is she collateral damage in this? Right? You keep going for her. Remember what T.I. did with Floyd Mayweather. Now, we don't know. Well, we know, but we don't know what happened in that altercation, who lost, if they really came to fisticuffs. But what we do know is that T.I. doesn't play about his woman. He put out another diss track as well, basically saying, that 50 was jealous that he doesn't have a family. He doesn't understand that. And King alluded to the same thing, basically saying that, or maybe it was Demani. I think it was Demani saying 50 must have not been hugged as a child. And they're going in on him. They're gangbanging him, basically. And T.I. made a video. He happened to be in New York singing his new song, rapping his new song, Let Him Know, walking down the street in New York, kind of like, I'm outside, I'm here, what's up? So we'll see where this ends. It's continuing to roll on. We know 50 has no die in him. The Dame Dash clip that he put up, it was Dame basically saying kind of the same thing, alluding that 50 wasn't hugged as a child. His mother wasn't there for him. He brought up the fact that his mother was murdered, in the drug game. We've all heard 50's backstory and made reference to her being a lesbian and some other things, and that he thinks that 50 is undiagnosed with some mental disorder. Well, from that, 50 posted that and basically went in on Dame again. Then he posted Aaliyah and was talking about how Dame is mad because Jay had sex with Aaliyah first. All right. Aaliyah's been gone a very, very long time. I know that the internet likes to debate whether or not she dated Jay-Z before Dame. Dame says that Jay wanted to date her, but Aaliyah said no. I was always under the impression, full disclosure, I used to work at Virgin Records. I actually worked there during Aaliyah's last album run. Black Ground at that time was distributed to that. So, I was around during that time period. And it kind of was always alluded to, basically, that she dated Jay-Z for a minute. Maybe it didn't work out, but whatever. But 50 bringing up long dead Aaliyah in this beef is kind of like, now why would you do that? I know 50's diabolical. He has no floor, basically, where there's really no line he won't cross, but just kind of felt unnecessary, especially if you feel like you're already winning the battle. I fear 50 might be on his heels. Like, we know he's got his studios and he has the 9 Million Power series and all of that. No shade, no tea. I'm a Power fan. I watch them all, even if I do think he's hinted that Power Origins would be the last one. It kind of should be. Well, not Origins, the other one that is going to have, is it Power Legacy with Tommy and Michael? Anyway, these last two kind of needs to be it, right? It kind of needs to move around from that topic. But, shout out to 50, child. 50's gonna 50. He's going to do what he's going to do. I mean, he always has something. So, and the people continue to keep him paid. So it is what it is as far as that is concerned. All right, now let's get into who got dragged a little bit. I thought that this was interesting, right? Cardi B is keeping her foot on YouTuber, blogger Tasha K's neck. I don't know how you want to describe Tasha K, but Cardi's keeping her foot on her neck. If you know, Tasha K lost a judgment, $3.9 million. That's how much she owes Tasha K for not taking down a video and retracting remarks saying that Cardi had a sexually transmitted disease, right? So now she is asking for a walk through Tasha K's financials and wants access to her bank statements, tax returns, records tied to her YouTube and social media income. And basically, this comes a year after an agreement that Tasha would pay over a 5-year installment, $1.2 million to Cardi, and provide quarterly disclosures. And so apparently Cardi's side feels that Tasha has not lived up to providing the disclosures. Now, if you're doing the math really quickly, right, on the money, basically that is $20,000 a month, just shy of $250,000 a year, all because Tasha K didn't want to retract saying that she knew factually this woman had a sexually transmitted disease. Like, I'm sorry. That's crazy to me. No shade, no tea, but she's still, running from the dollars to pay that over. And I would not be happy with having to pay $20,000 a month for not just wanting to say I'm sorry, right? Or maybe just making sure a claim was verified. Although someone's medical records, you really can't maybe not get into that. I don't know. We can't relitigate what has happened in the past, but I would probably stay away from that lady if I was her. Not me to decide, though. Good luck to that one. All right, next. Listen, your guy, Mathew Knowles, he's tripping. He's tripping hard, right? He did an interview with PXI11. Let me get this down. He did an interview with PXI11 a couple of weeks, maybe earlier this week, last week, basically. And he was asked about Tina Knowles. The reporter was reportedly attempting to give both Tina and Mathew their flowers for their contributions to Destiny's Child and all the fruit that has come from the Destiny's Child tree, right? Well, Mathew kind of shaded Tina and was like, well, what did she do? Right. And the guy nervously was like, hair. And Mathew was like, well, yeah, she did do the hair and the styling. But then he ended the interview. Right. Well, there was a lot of backlash after that, a lot of outrage. A lot of people had conversation to say about Mathew shading Tina, acting like that she wasn't, 2, his wife. 3, the woman that gave birth to Beyonce. I mean, she supported you as your wife. She probably saved you a great deal of money doing the hair and the clothes, sewing the clothes, that you didn't have to spend that, because believe you me, that stuff is expensive, right? To pay for stylists and hairstylists and all of that. Well, anyway, Mathew then curiously, I really don't understand. Well, first, I'll show you, in case you haven't seen it, the shade that he initially threw at Miss Tina. And then in another interview, he tried to Jedi mind trick the whole situation and walk it back. And now he's threatening to sue. So I'm like, Mathew, what do you really have going on? Who are you trying to fool? So let's start with the original video and what he originally got in trouble, got the heated response for initially.
So the same thing to Tina Knowles. You guys put in the work, and obviously the talent was there with your kids and your grandkids.
What work did she put in?
In the hair.
Okay,
clothing,
you're absolutely right. And the styling.
The styling.
The imaging, you're right.
She claimed to have preyed on the name and different aspects of that.
Sure. Sure.
So, yeah. It's a joint effort.
We'll stop now.
Sorry, did I say something wrong?
No. We're good.
All right.
We're good.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
So that was that, right? Little shady. And then since then, like I said, he's received a lot of heat, a lot of drama.
You get credit for how
let me show you the video that Miss Tina reposted of somebody basically like, you don't know my accomplishments? Let me remind you. So this is her response. Classy.
she-shaped culture. Being the matriarch is a big piece of the puzzle, but it's not the full picture. The truth is, her story is no different from other black artists who were blocked from participating in the mainstream, mocked for their work, and yet ultimately copied. Miss Tina left the hair salon to devote time to building Destiny's Child. She answered the question, how do you create a girl group that looks cohesive, honoring the past while still maintaining individual personality for each of its members? With major names refusing to dress Destiny's Child, she used bold fabrics and designs to create some of the most iconic looks of an era. They called her work tacky until it became couture, with similar looks showing up on runways. Nevertheless, this became the ultimate.
All right, so that was Miss Tina's response. And then since then,
The style.
Mathew has come out and tried to Jedi mind trick us all and act like we didn't hear what we heard or see what we saw, and basically say that it was us that misunderstood, that he was simply correcting the guy because the guy was saying that Miss Tina only did hair. And he was like, no, she did styling too. I didn't want him to cut off Tina's contribution. And it's like, Mathew. But here's what he had to say with this.
Ali built the image for Destiny's Child. Wouldn't you agree that that's way more than just saying someone did the hair?
No, absolutely. I think a lot of people are familiar with Destiny's Child's story. I mean, they're one of the biggest female groups of all time. And so I think a lot of people felt like it was an awkward moment. It certainly appeared to be awkward. And I think people wanted clarity because they know what Miss Tina has done. They, of course, know your legacy with Destiny's Child.
Yeah, I'm confused because if someone diminished what Tina does and just say she did the hair, and then I come back and say, no, she did the styling. Isn't that me giving flowers that she did more than just hair? And you just diminished her to she just did hair? That's why I'm just so baffled by all of this. But I tell you, Tina and I have a wonderful relationship. The styling.
Listen, you and Tina have a wonderful relationship. I certainly can't tell. And I know that man is not trying to Jedi mind trick us and act as if he was in defense of Tina and trying to re-center her in the conversation like she was more than just hair. We saw that, right? We all saw that. Do I need to run the video back? Do I need to run it back so that we can see it again to see that he's actually tripping, not us? I think it's crazy that he really tried to manipulate us in real time on camera where the video's there. And here's the thing. He doesn't think he got away with it. And the reason why I know he doesn't think that he got away with it, because Mathew Knowles has come back and is threatening to sue. Why are you threatening to sue, Mathew? What happened? This makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense. Unless you feel as though it made you look bad, but you made yourself look bad. Anyway, we'll see what happens with Mathew and how this all turns out. But realistically, who are you threatening to sue? Who are you going to sue? Yourself? Pix 11 for releasing it? It was an interview that you yourself, you did that. You gave the answer. They did nothing wrong. So, like I said, we'll see how that turns out. I think it's interesting. I wonder if this is indicative of how Mathew used to get things done in business. Listen, I don't condone being sneaky, but golly, Mathew, is that how you do it? You just continuously tell somebody they didn't see you, believe me, not your lying eyes and ears. Anyway, I thought that was funny. All right, so this next story is actually a serious story. It's who got dragged, and this individual deserves to. don't you know if you've seen this headline, but basically, he's former now Cal State basketball Bakers former Cal State Bakersfield basketball assistant coach. His name is Kevin Mays, is accused of trafficking, gun and drug charges, and possession of child sexual abuse materials, right? This isn't just scandal, it's a full institutional nightmare. It is the type of thing that parents are always worried about. It's so serious. Basically, he's a former athlete who later became an assistant coach for the men's basketball team. And according to ESPN, he was hired in June 2025 and arrested in September of last year after an investigation tied to an anonymous email to the head coach of the team, Rod Barnes. Reportedly, the message warned that Mays was trafficking women and included the line, "Fix it or the whole staff will fall." Barnes, who is the head coach, forwarded the email to human resources, which then they involved the university police, right? And from there, investigators later connected that the woman named in a complaint in a sex ad that was placed in Sacramento had actually been being trafficked by this assistant coach. The officers set up an undercover sting. She allegedly told investigators that the coach, Kevin Mays, was her boyfriend and that he paid for hotels, rental cars, and flights tied to her work. And basically, authorities say the case got darker after his arrest, and they started investigating, and they found automatic firearms with high-capacity mags, methamphetamines, marijuana packets for sale, and roughly 600 images of child abuse material, including some involving very, very young children. He's pled not guilty. Prayers out to that young lady. This type of stuff is crazy. The thing that makes it more disturbing is about access, because obviously he had access to teens because he was teaching in a college, not just teens, young adults, but you understand the reference that I'm making. He's not just some random man floating around campus, right? He was a former player turned staff member, which means familiarity, built up trust, right? And a university environment that now they're having to answer for how much went down in their facility behind this individual. So prayers go out to everyone that is involved. All right, last thing before we get out of here, I want to have a conversation, right? An open conversation, because we just talked about 50 Cent, who I feel like is the real hip hop boogeyman at this point. But I want to talk about Jay-Z and how we have gotten to this point that Jay-Z is hip hop's boogeyman. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because every couple of months, weeks, time period, somebody will pop out and say, yeah, I got the call from Rock Nation or Live Nation, or got a call from Jay about something that I said. We've seen Stephen A say it. He talked about when Jay-Z got at him when there was a conversation, I think it was about Kelly Rowland or something like that. I can't remember who looked better, Beyonce or Kelly Rowland, something like that. We also saw it when Noor said that Jay had called him behind something on the podcast. There was a conversation recently with Joe Budden and Mark Lamont Hill, they're on the Joe Budden podcast, about Jay-Z calling them about certain things that they have talked about on the pod. And Joe even talks about how people always want him to go at Jay-Z or say certain things. And he's like, it's not worth it, right? So people are like, Jay owns hip hop, hands down. Recently, Professor Eric Dyson, we know he's written 2 books on Jay-Z, and he talked about how he made some comments during the Kendrick and Drake beef, basically because Kendrick questioned Drake's blackness. He felt that wrong. He felt that it was being xenophobic, and that he likened Kendrick's approach to Donald Trump. Well, Jay-Z disagreed with that, and so Jay-Z texted him. And I feel like in some of these instances, what is being lost is, one, Jay is human just like us. if you disagree or you feel a certain way where you want to have a conversation with an individual, aren't you supposed to pull up, text them? Not to necessarily argue, but isn't that what you do? You bring it to the person, not to social media. I think we're so used to people performing for social media. Now it's looked at as a threat if you go directly to the individual. That's one. The second thing is, obviously, I think that this has everything to do with Beyonce and what they represent together as a couple. I think that people feel like, right, the fact that Jay-Z seemingly continues to climb and win from his early beginnings, and they feel like whatever happened with the Dame Dash beef, I don't see how you can look at some of the crash out that Dame has been doing as of late and not understand how Dame was bad for business, right? And I think Dame was an extremely smart businessman at the time, but he used a lot of force and a lot of tactics that don't work in this current environment, right? Now, listen, I am not absolving Jay for things that I probably don't know of or not insinuating. Obviously, he cheated on his wife at one point. He's a former drug dealer. So we know that he is capable of doing nasty things in the world. But I do somehow feel like the union of those two and the fact that Beyonce keeps climbing and so does he, people look at their success and it reflects sometimes to them on their lack of success. And so there's got to be a reason. Like, especially I feel like when you hear it from a lot of artists that just quite didn't make it. And I'm not talking about if they're saying Jay beat me out of royalties or business, because like Meek Mill, I mean, not Meek Mill, Memphis Bleak doesn't have any complaints about money and how Jay did with him business wise. Beanie Siegel, I don't think he does. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. But there are some aspects of business, though shady, are just business, right? Of course, we expect friends to deal with us in a different type of way to a certain degree, but business is business. At the bottom line is you have to be financially viable. That's a separate conversation. But I think some of these people look at their managing to still succeed and maybe their career isn't where they want it to be. And so it helps with this spin. So let me say this. Do I think or do I know that behind the scenes people have conversations and do things? Yes. But does it move exactly in the way that people lay it out and like there's a whole boardroom conspiracy going on and there's a planned counter move thing? I don't think it's really like that. At least that's not what I've seen, right? And I think, again, not absolving Jay-Z from things that I don't know about, but I think that it's kind of far the way that people line this up. And the only thing that I can really determine, because there's a lack of proof, let me say that there is a lack of anything to back up some of these things. For instance, his mention in the Epstein files. We know that that was from a tip line, unverified, nothing was searched. It has no real connection to Epstein. But people want to focus on that. And I feel like that's crazy because there are real things in there, starting with our president on down, that should have a closer look at. But you're focusing on this hip hop guy that was just thrown in there that doesn't have an impact on our day-to-day lives and what is happening with the people that are supposed to be there in power to help us. Again, separate conversation, but that's just my observation. I do want, like I always say, if you don't believe in one conspiracy theory, I'm going to question you. But I do think that there's a problem with misinformation and the idea that we will believe anybody, me included, because here I am on YouTube, but anybody with a YouTube channel that says something that is negative and not look for facts or look for some type of backing information that makes sense with these things. That concerns me overall about us as a society right now. Like, does the truth matter? Do facts, are they important? Or is it just manufactured things that line up with your narrative? We'll see what happens, though. But I do think that it's odd that people seem to think he's like the boogeyman and he's the hand that rocks the cradle and he's all consuming and shapes everything in hip hop. He doesn't. Again, I'm not saying he's never tapped in or he's never flexed his will, but I don't believe that it is in the way that people make it out to be. And I don't believe that the control is in the ways that most people put it out there. But, you know, that's it. That's all. All right. Listen, I'm thinking of adding another live stream in weekly, maybe a morning one. I'm not sure. Let me know if the comments, if you're interested in that. If you have any feedback or thoughts on any of these topics, I would love to hear it. Otherwise, enjoy your week. Thank you for joining me. I'll be back here next Friday to talk some more. And it'll be the weekend before the Oscars. I'm going to the Oscars this year, y'all. So maybe I'll get some tea from there. Maybe we'll have some celebration for sinners. Thank you guys again for locking in, leaving in the comments. I appreciate you. I'll be back